Oh, not, yeah. Wait, no, yes. Is that right? Okay, I'm happy to introduce Rick Halsey. He's the director of the Chaparral Institute, and he is a passionate person when it comes to Chaparral. He teaches natural history programs as well as a Chaparral Naturalist Certification program, and he also works with the San Diego Natural History Museum. Thanks for coming today, Rick.
So you ready to learn how to have a happier, longer life?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I want you just for a moment, well, maybe for a little more than a moment, suspend your intellect for a little bit. And that's one of these Simon Says things. Ready? Put your hands in your head. Because this is what I want you to do. I want you to get out of your head, Simon Says, and into your heart. All right? So we're going to do that. And if you start feeling like this is just stupid, I want you to tell your intellect to take vacation for a while. All right? So I have sort of a disappointing thing to tell you. We're children of divorce, every one of us. We have an intimate first name basis with nature for a very long time. That's where we came from. And over the last couple hundred years, what's happened? We're indoors, aren't we? A lot. And so what I want you to do is consider how it feels not to be outdoors. And when I talk about getting out of your head for a minute, I want you to think about the idea, well, think about the last argument you had with someone, and you did all the facts, right? And they sat back in their chair and they said, gosh, thank you so much. My mind's changed now. You women in the room, you might want to help some of the guys because guys have a harder time doing this. And those of you who are married with women, you might want to reconsider listening to them a little more because they do actually understand this a lot more than I think guys do. That's sort of a generalization. So, you ready? I want you to close your eyes. Seriously. Put your cell phones away. I see you. All right, I want you to imagine for a minute, would you, when you were like 7 or 8 years old, and you're out in the wild somewhere, maybe just your backyard, you're playing with your grass there, and falling in the mud, you got the blood going through your fingers. I just want you to think about that back then. Just think about it for a moment. Okay, take a deep breath. Take it out. I want you to tell the person next to you, you got 30 seconds and you switch. I don't want to have somebody doing a monologue. Tell them how you felt right now. Person next to you. Okay, switch. You do it? All right, time's up. How many of you felt or you communicated the fact that it was just a horrible place? I don't want to go there anymore. How many of you love nature? Okay, all right. Who clapped? We have prizes in this. You like the pocket naturalist guy? Just a minute, just a minute. Really? I don't know my other. Would you like a Chaparral Institute mug or a pocket naturalist?
Thank you, sir.
Sure. So take a look at this graph. And I've really had a hard time understanding this concept in the past because, you know, I've got this intellect problem, typical guy thing, right? And I want to have some foundation for stuff. Just take a look at this for a minute. That 7% figure, by the way, came from research in 2003. I think it's probably like 3% now. How come? Social media, right? We don't belong in here. All right, you think you're driving your car, everything's normal, you're serving dinner, you're talking to your friends, you're lecturing, you're listening to PowerPoints. My God, you know, it's just such a wonderful, no, it's not. We've deluded ourselves because our intellect thinks it's in charge, and it's not. Right? It really isn't. And so what we need to do is figure out this divorce issue, get some counseling, and figure out how to patch up the problems. And there's been a lot of research. Americans are a little behind on this. The Koreans, the Swedes, the Japanese, far ahead of us. So what's happened here? Well, right now in our society, I'm talking primarily American, we're more irritable, we're less social, we're more narcissistic. I'm so great. We're more distracted, we're less cognitively nimble, and there's higher cortisol levels. Anybody know what cortisol is? It's one of my favorite drugs. It's a hormone from the adrenal glands, and what happens is, in our society, it continually ramps up all the time. More on that in a minute. It's the cause for a lot of our problems. So how do we address this? And I thought to myself, okay, if we don't belong where we are, and we have a lot of these pathological conditions, what is it about nature that allows us to feel better about all of that stuff? Well, there's a bunch of things. First of all, there's sound. And I don't know how many of you listen to things outside. You know, when you've got like going on like that, you know, fluorescent lights, you know what's happening? Your adrenal glands are going, they're pumping out the cortisol all the time, constantly. And there's hum noises in the background. Every 5 decibel increase, they've done studies on this. When children are exposed to those kind of environments, their reading levels or their advancement drops by 2 months. Kids who are taught in areas where there's 20 decibels, they have a reading skill level about a year behind everybody else. And unfortunately, most of these issues have to do with people that are not wealthy. They're in economically depressed neighborhoods. So there's an issue there that's important. And for some other reason, wind, birds, and water, we love it. Why is that? Just think about it. What is it about those sounds? Ready? A friend of mine did this recording. It's really pretty cool. Don't talk. If you are identifying the birds, stop it. Told you. All right? California. You put that right. It's just different though. You have to really work at this because your brain and your intellect is constantly trying to organize. You just need it to go away. But you really have to make a decision to do that and enjoy it. Right, fragrance. There's this wonderful hydrocarbon. There's a whole group of them called terpenes. And they make us feel better when we smell them. You know, it's aromatherapy, that all touchy-feely stuff people do. There's a reason for that. You know that funky smell that soil has when it's wet? We really like it. You know why we like it? I just love it. Because those of us who couldn't detect that smell couldn't find the damn water, and they're dead. This is an evolutionary story. This is not about some kind of weird psychological battle. Right? All these feelings we're having because these sounds remind us of home and our connections with the environment. That's why it feels good. It's an evolutionary imperative. Ready for this? I always do these experiential things. It's so much more fun. You guys aren't allergic. You got it? You got it, Chris? What do you think? You guys definitely have it, right? Yeah. maybe we'll do this. Chris, not yet? Dude, get out of your head. Okay, you got it, Susan? All right. Okay, for those of you who aren't blessed being in front of the room, I want this back. So why is that smell so pleasant? They've done research. They've done this thing with the Japanese. They took all these Japanese businessmen and they had them walk for 3 days for 2 hours in the morning. Their T cell counts went up 40%. That's a real thing. A month later, the T cell count was still up at 15%. So what's going on there? Blood pressure, levels of cortisol, excuse me, all of that stuff. Heart rate goes down. So these are issues that are continually out there. We're not allowing ourselves to enjoy them because we're still in our heads. A visual. There's something weird. You know what fractals are? They're repeating patterns that are often found in nature. When people take walks in nature, I feel so much better. What's going on? Our eyes are recognizing the fractal patterns. You do the same thing in a Euclidean environment like a city. These benefits that happen to people are not happening in those environments. And so why do we like those environments? That's where we were for 3 million years. We're not there anymore and we're pissed. And you don't even know it. Any one of you guys like dogs? You like dogs? Like a lot?
I love dogs.
This is Cooper, our chief spiritual officer. You like kind of do that. How's it feel? Awesome? Yeah. You know, you can kind of do this with a blanket. It's just not the same thing. Why is that? Yeah, it's a kinship. It's a warmth. You want to just stay here or what? I mean, there's something biological going on here, and it isn't fluff. People are dying because they're not recognizing they need this, right? So we're full sensory beings. We have to be mindful of that. Forget it. When you go out in nature, just go take a hike, right? No, just go out, take a couple minutes, close your eyes, shut down these things because they connect to the thought form. Sit up straight or stand straight, take a deep breath, and just do that in the morning. Take care of yourself for a change. This job isn't that important. Seriously. All right, so I want you to think about the time when you were inspired to love nature. Just think about that. And there's probably a person that you may have connected with. Think about that person. Remember their name? If you can remember a person, tell the person next to you the person's name that inspired you. What's so funny, Megan? Megan. I did say we're sensory creatures. I don't want you to get too. All right, so here's my guy. This is Fred Modern, a weird neighbor from across the street who's Hungarian. He took me to the Audubon Nature Center in Long Beach. I became the vice president. I started causing trouble immediately. And I went there every week. I rode my bike 5 miles, and that's what got me involved with nature. How many of you have been inspired to study nature because of a nature center exhibit? Okay, not a lot of you. I mean, it works sometimes, right? So there's a lot of nature centers around here, but I want you to think of them not as places, but as a place where you can find your psychological divorce coach. These people that you go visit, and we evaluated a bunch of them, 19 of them in Southern California, went to every one of them. And I got so irritated because I was measuring how much they talked about the chaparral. Most of them didn't. I mean, really? But you know, the ones that really, it didn't matter. This visitor center here, Devil's Punch Bowl, I don't know if you've ever been there, it's right over the mountains. There's this guy. He's been there for 45 years. And he comes out with his beaming smile and his little pointer and his little insects, and he engaged with us immediately. I felt so good. Why? I didn't know a damn thing about Chaparral. There wasn't even a picture of it in that thing. And it's surrounded by Chaparral. I was really ticked, but by the time I left, what was the difference? Right? Seriously, that's how we remember things. We don't remember them by being lectured to. We remember things by how we feel. Here's another one. You know where that one is? Anybody know? Close? No, not so close. I don't want to say no. That's the only problem I have. Come on now. You go in this place, it has like 5 misconceptions about Chaparral. It's horrible. But then there's this guy, Roddy Gregory. He's been there since 1977. You know what he does? First week in June, he puts on a luau to raise money to support the program he started in 1977. You know what it is? He trains 8 to 12-year-olds to be junior naturalists and 13 to 18-year-olds to be rangers. And they go and take care of these animals. I said, what do you do for adults? I hate adults. You can't train those people. You know how many people he's inspired? And that's a job every one of you can think about doing too. And you're all passionate about nature. You said it earlier, right? We can do a lot to change the world. But we got to get out of here. You know, and that means every one of you can do it. So let me just touch on this ecosystem services concept for a minute. I want you to think about your very best friend. You don't have to tell me this. That's kind of too personal. And think about the friendship services they provide you. Invite me for dinner. They take me places when my car broke down. They gave me presents. What am I missing? Okay, the ecosystem services concept is really valuable. It can provide a lot, but it's missing something. It's missing, yeah, I'm missing you too. It's missing the connection we have. We do not go out into the chaparral or nature to get our ecosystem service intrinsic value. You know, I'm gonna get some cultural stuff. I'm gonna go take a hike, feel better. You're not. You're just gonna go back to your job and feel crappy again. But what happens if you get out there and realize, close your eyes, take a deep breath, get out of your head, go to your heart, and understand you're intimately connected to this system, you'll change your life. And it's not something that's weird. It's something that was ingrained evolutionarily speaking, and that's science, over 3 million years. To think otherwise, to think we've changed in 200 is ridiculous. And it's the root of a lot of our issues. So this woman here in this tree, her name's Tree Girl, and yeah, she's pretty cool. I have her book actually, by the way. I have one if you want to buy it for $5. It's up here. But I was talking to her the other day about this stuff, and I was, God, you know, I was talking about racism, and she says, you know, none of that matters. I go, what are you talking about? She says, that's all a symptom of our disconnection from where we belong. If we can get that root problem solved, and that's something every one of you can do, we'll solve everything else. You can't hate someone or be mean to somebody if you know you're connected with them intimately because we're all part of the same system. I mean, really, it's an intellectual concept, but it doesn't work until it gets into your heart. So here's a kind of a cool quote. How happy I am to be able to walk amongst the shrubs. That's one of the reasons I love this slogan. The trees, the woods, the grass, and the rocks. For the woods, the trees, and the rocks give us the resonance we need. Resonance. You know who said that? Take a guess. Tell me right now. That's a good one. Anyone else? Who? Tree Girl? She could have said that. Come on. Come here. I heard that one already. San Dimas good. That's a. Would you like the mug? Sure. Okay. You remember his name? But you remember him, huh? Because what he did and what he does. Okay. And that's what's important because you're in your. Where are you right now? No. Where are you? Okay, ready? You ready? Beethoven said that. Could have been Charles Darwin walking around in a circle. That's where we get inspiration. It's not in the skyscraper, even though, I don't know, Wall Street people are here, but I mean, honestly. So here's my motto. Down with the frontal lobe, up with the cerebellum. So I'm going to leave you with this quote here. We experience ourselves, our thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest. It's a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion, to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. That's out. So, what Simon says here, we're going to get out of our heads. I'm waiting. Come on. Out of our heads. Into our hearts. You ready with the third part? Out into nature. Thank you very much.